Hi, I'm Danielle. Welcome to my channel. I was a MAC makeup artist for 7 years, and I'm so excited to be here sharing my love of makeup with you. I got a really exciting package this week. Lisa Eldridge Marilyn Monroe collection. I ordered the Norma Jeane lipstick, and I ordered the Butterfly Light Elevated Glow Balm Concentrate. I'm such a big fan of both Marilyn Monroe and Lisa Eldridge, and I'm so excited to share these products with you. Every makeup artist knows Marilyn Monroe's look. What she and her makeup artist Whitey created is so iconic. Her makeup is what initially drew me to her. She's so beautiful. When you watch her movies and you research her, I just get the vibe that she was such a genuinely kind person. Beautiful inside and out. Some Like It Hot, How to Marry a Millionaire, The 7-Year Itch, and Gentlemen Prefer Blondes. Those are my top so far. Now, Lisa Eldridge is a celebrity makeup artist, and I have watched her forever on YouTube. She has a video. She talks about how to create a lifted lip shape, and it has influenced the way that I do lipstick since the day I watched it. I always think of Lisa when I'm doing my lipstick and I'm trying to make happy lips. And she has her own line of makeup, and she also collects vintage makeup. She bought Marilyn Monroe's actual lipstick, and she did a whole video about it. If you love history, if you love the history of makeup and geeking out about that stuff, it was a great video. If you love learning about the history of makeup, you also need to check out Lisa's book called Face Paint. This is a great reference. So this collection is extra special because it's 100 years since the birth of Marilyn Monroe. Marilyn was born June 1st, 1926. Marilyn's estate actually reached out to Lisa Eldridge to create this collection for that special occasion. And Lisa is the perfect person to do this because she actually owns some of Marilyn's lipsticks. So the lipsticks that are part of this collection are inspired by colors that Marilyn actually wore. I love the pictures of Marilyn that Lisa chose for the packaging. So they are from the summer of 1957 when she and Arthur Miller were renting a cottage in the Hamptons in Amagansett. And her close friend, photographer Sam Shaw, took these photographs. So this is off-duty Marilyn. She's looking just happy and relaxed. First, we got to talk about the lipstick. This is in the color Norma Jeane, and Norma Jeane is the name that Marilyn Monroe was given when she was born. This lipstick is part of Lisa Eldridge's Rouge Experience line. They are refillable. This part, the insert with the lipstick, when you're done or when you want to change colors, you can pull it out and pop a new one in. But the case you keep. And it's really cool because you can have your initials engraved on it, and it feels very weighty. It's a very, very luxurious feeling lipstick, and I envision having this for the rest of my life and passing this on to my girls. The lipstick itself is an orange red, very lightweight, and it has a satin sheen to it. So it's very comfortable to wear. Today I lined my lips with MAC Cherry Liner. MAC Cherry is a true red versus the orange tone of Norma Jeane. And then the past couple days I've been wearing this color with MAC Red Lip Liner, which is an orange-based red. It definitely matches the color of the lipstick better. Marilyn Monroe's makeup artist used a darker color to line her lips. I think I prefer it this way. And actually, do you remember when Rihanna wore that red dress on the red carpet and she was wearing a mix of Lady Danger and Ruby Woo from MAC? That kind of gives me the same vibes. I also want to mention the Maybelline Lifter Liner. This is the color Main Character, and it does remind me a lot of MAC Cherry. That is Main Character and then MAC Cherry. These stay on really well, and they have hyaluronic acid in them. I don't know if it's a placebo, but I think that it plumps up my lips a little bit, but they definitely do last a really long time. But of course, I love my MAC liners. Okay, so let's talk about how I applied the red lip. So I've let my Laneige lip sleeping mask sit up until this point, and I just took a cloth and wiped it off. So I'm starting with a smooth, clean base. Then I went in with my MAC Prep and Prime lip. And this is a clear lip primer. Looks and feels very much like a lip balm going on. But if you will let this sit for about a minute, you'll start to feel the texture of it change. It actually gets a little bit tacky. That's when you know that you're ready to go in with your color. But this helps to smooth out the texture of your lips, and it also prevents feathering. So when I remember to use it, I always love the outcome of my lipstick. Next, I used Cherry Lip Pencil from MAC, and I start with the center of my lip, and then I move to the corners. Those are the two most crucial areas to get right. You can overdraw the center of your lip slightly, but the corners of your mouth, you really want to keep like tighter to the inside of your actual lip line. Now, once I'm happy with the placement of those two areas, then I'll connect them. And I turn my head so that I can see the lip shape from all angles. Once I'm happy with my lip shape, then I'll take that same pencil and I'll fill in the outer corners of my lip. Next, I took a lip brush to blend the lip liner. My goal here is to get the edges of the lip liner really smooth. I don't want any jagged edges from the pencil. I want it to be as smooth as possible. So I'm smoothing the edges, and then I'm taking that brush and I'm dragging the color in towards the center of the mouth. And what this is doing is creating a soft gradient fade from the darkest on the outer corner, and it's going to fade lighter and lighter towards the center. Now I've still left the center bare, and that's because that's where I want my lipstick to go. So the lipstick in the center is lighter and brighter, and it's going to fade into that darker lip line. Now what this does is it creates more of a 3D lip. It's going to give me the look of fullness, which I am always after. Last, I used my Studio Finish concealer on a flat concealer brush to clean up my lip shape. This does a couple of things for me. It helps me to get the sharpest, cleanest, crispest, most crisp line possible. And I use it on the corners of my mouth to make sure that I have a lifted angle. Lipstick can either drag the face down or it can lift it. And in order to do that, I make sure that the corners of my mouth are at an angle up. I actually really love the way this lipstick looked with just my base makeup on and some cream bronzer. And if I threw in a little bit of a brow, I would be set. If I was forced to choose only one bold lipstick color that I could wear for the rest of my life, you better believe it's going to be a Balm red lip. And this color is so up my alley. All right, so I was swatching some of my other Marilyn lipsticks to see how they compared to Norma Jeane. So here is Norma Jeane. And then in the center, this is Besame Red Hot Red, which Besame is a company that also specializes in historically accurate lipstick colors. And Red Hot Red is supposed to be a replica of one of Marilyn Monroe's lipsticks. And I thought it would be similar, but it is not as orange. It almost looks more like a true red when you put it beside Norma Jeane. MAC Scarlet Ibis. Do you remember the MAC Marilyn collection? This was Scarlet Ibis. I thought it would be close. So you see, it looks orange on the tube. It's more coral, and then Norma Jeane is more orange. Norma Jeane also has more shine to it and doesn't have as much coverage. The last color that I tried was Revlon Siren. And if you have watched Erin Parsons, she's another good person to watch if you enjoy the history of makeup. She also collects vintage makeup, and she also has one of Marilyn's lipsticks. The closest dupe she could find was Revlon Siren, and it is way more orange and lighter. It's more orange, less red, and it's almost got like a white base to it. Very cool, right? The other thing I got from this collection is the highlighter in the color Butterfly Light. This is a balmy highlighter. Marilyn Monroe used to put Vaseline on her face to make her skin glow. So this kind of gives the same vibes. It's a really pretty champagne-y pearl kind of color with a clear, looks like a clear glossy base. I picked up some of the balm on a dense angled brush. Now, if you're familiar with a MAC 275, It has that same shape, but this brush that I'm using is about twice the size of that one. This is a great brush for concealer or for cream and liquid highlight like I'm using here. So it's a great brush when you want precision and control over the placement of your cream and liquid products. The first area that I like to highlight is on the top of my cheekbone, and I carry it up onto the top of my temple, right above the arch of my brow. So I'm making a C shape with that highlighter. I'm using very light pressure, and I'm just tapping. I've even used this balm as a topper for my liquid eyeshadow. So one day I used my Giorgio Armani eye tint in the color Cashew, and then I took my finger and tapped this over the top to make my eye look glossy. If you like a smudgy, glossy, lived-in eye, I thought it was a really cool, sexy look. And if you want an alternative to lip gloss, you could tap a little bit of this in the center of your lipstick for some dimension. This highlighter gives just such juicy skin. Like you've been drinking your water, you've been eating right, you've been going to the gym and the spa and taking care of your skin. And you know what? Marilyn Monroe knew what was up. She knew that moisture made you look youthful. For the rest of my makeup, I used my e.l.f. Power Grip, the pink one that has the niacinamide in it. Niacinamide is good for calming redness, but these primers are hydrating and they are sticky. They help your makeup to grip to your skin and make them longer lasting. To get my Marilyn glow started, I used my Charlotte Tilbury Hollywood Flawless Filter. This is the color Too Fair. The Hollywood Flawless Filter can be used in multiple ways, so using it underneath your makeup is just one. I've also really enjoyed this on top of my makeup as a more subtle highlighter. It's more subtle than the Glow Wand is. It can also be worn alone if you just want a sheer glowy coverage, or you can mix it in with foundation to make it more glowy. For instance, if you had a more matte foundation and you wanted something more radiant, try mixing a little bit of this in. Then I used my Dior Backstage Face and Body in the color 1N. This is a really light foundation. I would say it gives about medium coverage, but it's very thin. It's different than MAC Face and Body, which I also love, but this offers more coverage and it's not as shiny. I do really like this. And in the summertime, it's sweat and humidity resistant. I've been playing around with several Dior foundations and they are all very nice. To add shape and some color to my face, I used my Huda Tantour in the color Fair. This is a contour and a bronzer cream. It's in that neutral zone that I like, where it'll give you shape, but also some color. This is a really great product that I've used for a couple of years now. Because this is a cream to powder formula, this is an excellent cream bronzer for someone who is combination to oily skin. This bronzer is also super easy to blend. There is so much playtime when it comes to blending with this bronzer. Some bronzers, you have to work in sections of your face because it dries down so fast that if you don't blend it out right away, you're going to have a patchy mess. But not with this bronzer. I can dot it all around and then take my time blending, and it always looks smooth. I'm a little bit nervous, though, that they might be phasing this out because it seems to be harder to find online. So if you want an alternative, the Charlotte Tilbury Contour Wand in the color Fair is similar. To color correct under my eyes, my Natasha Denona in the color C1. Today I applied my color corrector straight from the applicator, and I did 2 small dots on the innermost part of my eye and blended it out with a dense concealer brush. For blush, I was thinking about using my MAC Legendary blush from the Marilyn collection. It's a soft peach color, so it's warm and ties in with the lip. I decided to go with something that's still available. This is the Glow Play blush from MAC in the color Cheer Up, and it's about the same color as the Legendary, a little bit brighter. Same vibes. This is like a cream to powder kind of a blush, so I used this as my first layer. I decided to go with the soft peach blush because it gives the warmth that the lipstick has, but it's not going to compete with the lipstick. Concealer, I used my Natasha Denona in P2 and P1. I used the P2 now that I'm getting some summer color as my main concealer under my eye. And then where I want brightness, I used P1. So this is the concealer that you see me take through the center of my face, on the innermost corner of my eyes, and on the outer corner of my eyes to give a lift. To set, I used my Huda Easy Bake in the color Sugar Cookie. This is my Ride or Die powder. So first I used a small powder brush and just did a light set underneath my eyes and in my T-zone where I get oily. Now after I've set my under eye and my T-zone, I went back with a powder puff and I used the baking technique. So this is where I'm using a generous amount of powder and I'm packing it underneath my eye. I let this powder sit for 5 to 10 minutes, and then I take a brush and I pat it away. For powder bronzer, I used my YSL All Hours Hyper Bronze in the color 01. I'm using the fluffy side of my Morphe 240 Sculpt brush to apply the bronzer. The powder blush I layered on top of my cream blush was from this Hourglass palette that came out at Christmas. This is the Ambient Lighting Edit Unlocked, and this is the Dior one. I used a mix of the peach and the pink to give the same vibe that my MAC cream blush had. I'm using the fanned outside of my Morphe M200 blush brush to apply my powder blush. Also from this palette, I used a mix of these two powders. I use those as like a blurring filter so that it blurs the edges of my bronzer and my blush so that it melts into my skin a little more seamlessly. Just like when you are blending your eyeshadow and you want it to blend into your skin without any hard line, the same idea applies to blush and bronzer. For eyes, I used my same Natasha Denona concealer in P2 as my eyeshadow base, and I set that with my Huda Beauty powder. From the Natasha Denona Mini Glam palette, I used this yellowy brown color in the crease and down onto the lid. So this is my transition shade, contour shade. And then on my lid, I used MAC Naked Pigment. MAC Mixing Medium. This can be mixed in with your pigments and glitters. It helps them stick to your skin and it also makes them more intense, more metallic. I used this darker brown on the lash line to add some more definition. I used MAC Brulee under my brow, this middle color from the Natasha Denona Mini Nude palette. And then for my eyeliner, I used MAC Dipdown. So Marilyn Monroe's eyeliner came to a peak right above the pupil of her eye, and then it swooped down as it was going towards the outer corner. This created that sleepy bedroom eye that Marilyn was known for. Loreal Extensionist in the waterproof black. And then anywhere that I needed to clean up, under my brow, around my lipstick, under my wing, where I want that sharpness, I used the MAC Pro Conceal and Correct palette. I have mine in the color Light. This has NC15, W10, NC20, and NW20, and I kind of mix between the two to make a neutral concealer. My lashes are the Kiss Ruffle. I cut these to make just an outer corner lash. So I held them up to my eye and I measured from the peak of my eyeliner in the center to the outer corner. And something that I learned today watching an Erin Parsons video on Marilyn's eyeliner and lashes is that Marilyn tilted her lashes down so that it gave more of like a sleepy eye effect. Like I often will put my lashes so that they are really perky looking, but so I tried it like hers, where I tilted them more down today. The Ardell Stronghold Lash Glue. In my brows, I used my Pears Soap Brow. I keep going back to my soap brow because nothing holds like that does. And then to fill in, I used the NYX Micro Brow Pencils in the color Ash Brown and Taupe. I use Ash Brown the most, and then Taupe I use more towards the front of my brow. And then this L'Oreal Faux Brow, I have mine in the color Dark Blonde. Add a little bit more dimension and sharpness, and to also kind of cover up any of the soap residue that is still showing. You got to shake it up really good. Otherwise, it kind of gives a red tint. But if you shake it up, it's growing on me. This is pretty good. For underneath my lashes, I used the NYX Epic Wear in Deepest Brown. And for my waterline, I used the Essence Stay and Play Gel Eyeliner. This is waterproof and it's in the color Silky Nude. To cover my lash band and any glue that might be showing, the Ioni Everlasting Lash Glue Liner Pen. This comes from the Dollar Tree, and it's like a liquid eyeliner, but it's a lash glue. I like this to blend in my lash line, and it gives a little bit of extra security. Charlotte Tilbury setting spray. This melts the powders and gives it a more skin-like texture, and it also helps the makeup to wear longer. And Charlotte Tilbury Airbrush Flawless Finish in the color 1 Fair. I use this powder to refine and mattify just in through the center where I don't want to look shiny after I did my setting spray. So the eye that I did today is very much inspired by Marilyn, but if you go back and watch my first video, the eye look that I did there, you can wear with any color lipstick. That's a great basic eye to get down. You don't have to do the wing liner if you don't want to, but that wash of a contoury kind of a color, you can pop whatever shimmer that you want to on there, and then just a subtle, I even use dip down where I will just pat it into my lashes. I don't even wing it out, and I'll take my finger or a pencil brush and I'll smudge it out so it gives definition, but it's like an undetectable eyeliner. I'm also a fan of a bronzy smoky eye with a red lip. If you go to my TikTok, I have a video where I was trying on my red lipsticks and I had a bronzy smoky eye there. Thanks so much for watching. If you made it to the end of this video, will you give it a thumbs up? It really helps my channel out. And leave me a comment and let me know what your favorite iconic makeup looks are. I look forward to hearing from you, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.